Well, good morning and welcome to Morning Gospel Fuel with Mr. G. It is Wednesday, October 21st, the feast day of Saint Ursula. And she was a female virgin and martyr. I guess she was a princess, as her parents were king and queen, of course, um, somewhere in Europe. But she was a female virgin and martyr in the year 383 AD, roughly. Uh, and the story goes that she was on a quest with 11,000 other virgins, in which they were all beheaded for their faith by the Huns of Eastern Europe. Every time I think of Huns, I think of the movie Mulan. But anyway, that is that's the story behind Saint Ursula. There really isn't much known about her, but she is known to be the patron saint of Cologne, Germany. Anyway, to the gospel. Today's gospel is from Luke chapter 12, verses 39 through 48. Let's begin in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Be sure of this. If the master of the house had known the hour when the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be prepared, for at an hour you do not expect, the Son of Man will come. Then Peter said, Lord, is this parable meant for us or for everyone? And the Lord replied, Who then is the faithful and prudent steward whom the master will put in charge of his servants to distribute the food allowance at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom his master on arrival finds doing so. Truly I say to you, he will put him in charge of all his property. But if that servant says to himself, My master is delayed in coming, and begins to beat the men servants and the maid servants, to eat and drink and get drunk, then that servant's master will come on an unexpected day and at an unknown hour, and will punish him severely, and assign him a place with the unfaithful. That servant who knew his master's will but did not make preparations, nor act in accord with his will, shall be beaten severely. And the servant who was ignorant of his master's will, but acted in a way deserving of a severe beating, shall be beaten only lightly. Much will be required of the person entrusted with much, and still more will be demanded of the person entrusted with more. Okay, so kind of a lengthier gospel this morning. Not too bad, though, I guess. But this is a continuation from yesterday's gospel, in which we're talking about the unknown hour and being vigilant and being a faithful servant and so on and so forth. And Peter asks a fair question. He says, is this parable that you're talking about, of this readiness for the master, or in this sense, Christ in the second coming, is this meant for us, as in like the disciples only, or everyone? And Jesus, you notice he never gives a straight answer. He really makes you dive into it, because I had to reread this 3 times this morning before I finally made sense of it. So Jesus is virtually saying that there is a chain of command, so to speak, where the higher responsibility, the higher risk, but then also the higher the reward, which we've heard this all the time in the business world. If you're a CEO, a business owner, a principal, a farmer, the Pope, whatever it is, the higher you are on the chain of command, the higher the responsibility is. And that's what Jesus is kind of relaying to, because he recognizes and accepts the fact that we are all gifted differently. Some of us are never going to reach the top of that chain of command, which is just as equally important as those that are, somewhere in between, the bottom of the ladder and the top of the ladder. And Jesus is telling you that, or is telling us that those that are put in charge, we have a higher responsibility, and we can't just put things off whenever we think that our boss, so to speak, isn't going to know. So Jesus is telling us in a figurative approach that we can't escape the inevitable, and God is all knowing, and the Master is all knowing. So that is virtually what is taking place here, as far as what I can see from this verse, and making sure that we fulfill our own duties based upon what we are gifted, so to speak, um, in whatever sense it is in our lives. So, but we all have a high responsibility uh, within our own. We are ultimately responsible of where our soul goes. So, with all this being said, the challenge kind of comes in. And this also reminded me of one of the most famous lines from Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility, um, and that's what Jesus is talking about today. So, what is God entrusting you with today? And what are you responsible with and for today to help build the kingdom of God so that you are ready whenever it is time for us to meet our Maker? Have a great day. God bless and keep it real. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen.